almost quit and walked away from all of this because we had just a really challenging client. And I think I had a pivotal moment there saying, am I really going to let this stop something that is moving forward because of this one man? And I decided, no, I'm not.
It's a problem, but really it's another lesson.
You have to invest in your business in order to grow it.
You know that change is certain. We got to pivot to go remodeling because there's bigger opportunities here and less opportunities here.
This whole experience has been just diving in and saying, I'm going to figure it out.
Expert advice, practical tips, real-life stories. Have less stress, more time, and more money in your business. Welcome to the Cash Flow Contractor.
Amy, I appreciate you joining me for the podcast on such a busy week, just like any week, right? But
yeah.
It feels a little bit different maybe for you, like chaos everywhere, stuff's happening, people leaving, people needing to start things, needing to have a conversation. So thanks for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So we met through a mutual friend, Alex Weeks, who's in your area, a remodeler as well. Why don't you share a little bit about your business today? We're going to dive into where you started from and how you got to today, but why don't you share for us a little bit about Bloom?
Sure. Yeah. So Bloom is a design build company. We are in Louisville, Colorado, which is just a little bit outside of Boulder. We started, which we'll get to, as a cabinet painting company, but now we are a full design build with 3 companies, actually. We've got Bloom Kitchens, which is our main kind of foundational company. And then we have Bloom Painting Company, which does the cabinet painting still. And then we also opened recently, just last year, a venue, which is not quite in the design build space, but it's in our offices. We have offices and shops behind our offices. And we had an availability for to fill that space with something and decided, it'd be great to open it up to the community and also have them come through and see what we do here at Bloom, but be able to kind of just invite people in and allow them to have a great space to host parties and other things. So that's where we're at now. We're at we have 26 employees between the 3 companies.
Wow.
And we're just moving forward with all of it.
Well, and something else you failed to mention is that you're women owned and operated. As everyone employed is a woman. Is that right?
Yep. All of our employees are females, and I can get to that part of the story, down the line. But we are a little bit different here in that with owning. I own a construction company, which is definitely not necessarily typically a woman, a female space, but feel really comfortable in that space and have a ton of support from the community and other contractors.
Yeah. How is that an advantage for you?
Well, I think which is surprising. I didn't start this as a intention, we're going to have this all-female company. It's part of my story. But what we see all the time is people wanting to support that. Like our clients reach out to us specifically because they want to work with an all-female design build company. And that feels great. I don't think we come in with any different attitude or any different stance than any company would. Yeah. We just show up and do a good job. And I do think that just through doing a good job and working in excellence, we get a lot of word-of-mouth referrals and continue to grow our business that way.
Yeah. So it obviously helps on the marketing side and being able to close deals in that aspect. But what about like in the operations aspect? How is it an advantage there?
Well, I would say it's hard because I haven't ever worked inside a male, industry in that way. But so I don't know how much of an advantage this is. But I do think what we are really good at is communication. We're very big on that. We're big on empathy and connecting with our clients, stepping into the hard with them because construction is really challenging, as we all know, and it never is smooth, no matter how smooth you want it to be. So it's just learning to build those relationships. We're very relational. And I don't know if that's something that we do more than others necessarily, but we just come alongside our clients. And, one example of that just happened this week is we had something happen at a house that was really disappointing to a client. It was a mistake that happened, never intentionally with one of our trades. And there were tears. And we had one of our designers, I was there just representing our company and as the owner showing up and watching, just kind of watching in the back as how our team handled it. And one of our designers just took the wife, aside and gave her a hug. And I just watched this client cry in our designer's arms. And it was just a really, a unique moment. We were in the middle, this whole house is being renovated and there's construction workers in the other room. There's people building cabinets. There's all sorts of things going on. But this ability to just connect and be there for our clients, I think, is really helpful.
Oh man, I can't imagine. I mean, that's something that you can easily forget in any industry, any business, but there's always there's a purpose for the client in everything. And it's not just to get the job done, but it's what the home means. It's what they plan to do with the home and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And that's right. Like women typically do have a bit more empathy than men. And I'm sure that does help in those situations. So really interesting.
Possibly.
Okay, so let's dive into where you started, because I think it's really interesting for our audience to hear. They hear three companies like, man, I've always thought about doing three, like this thing and then that thing. They hear service and then moving to design build. I know a lot of people that are in the remodel space and want to get to a design build for like custom homes or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with the service side? How did you get into painting cabinets? And was it just painting, or were you building the cabinets too? Or no, it was purely we paint the cabinets?
Purely painting cabinets. And
Okay.
My story is really interesting, I think, and pretty unique. I was a teacher early on out of college and did that for many years and really loved that. And then I ended up being a stay-at-home mom for many years. And that was a great thing to, I really felt like that was where I needed to be. My husband traveled a lot for work, and yet I am just a busy person. I thrive on productivity. I thrive on growth and improvement. And so I was always doing little things on the side. I had a staging business that was very small on the side. I was always involved in different things. Women's leadership I was really involved in different environments. And so I was just, my kids were getting older and starting to head off, getting into high school and college. And we have 3 kids, and my oldest was looking for a summer job, but she's working at a bunch of camps. And so she basically said, "Mom, would you have any ideas?" And I had probably out of boredom repainted the interior walls of my house like multiple times, because I just always wanted something to do. And I had repainted my cabinets, and I would not call myself a big DIYer, but I just dabbled. But I knew I loved painting. So I said, "Hey, why don't we just put out an email in our neighborhood?" And we have this neighborhood like email system that a lot of people are on, and just start a mother-daughter interior painting. We're just going to go paint walls for the summer. Literally, I thought it was for the summer. And we started doing it, and I'm sure because I was priced so low, sorry to all you painting contractors out there, because I didn't know that space at all, and this was really just for fun. We started getting a lot of business, and we did that through the summer. And as we were in people's homes, they would ask me for advice, and what about moving furniture here? And we just probably through that relational part, they learned that I had a little bit of design sense. I did not go to interior design school. I do feel like I have a good sense of design, but I just started getting jobs. And one of the earliest jobs, Hannah, my oldest, went to college and she was out, but one of the first big jobs I got was literally painting an entire house by myself inside. And I remember calling in my family at like the 11th hour saying, "This has to be done by here. I can't finish it." And they're all pitching in. I mean, it was just, I was way in over my head, but I liked it. And I kept getting asked to come do this. And then I was asked from some friends if I would paint their cabinets, which is a whole other deal. And I remember going into the first friend that asked me to do this, and I literally was on her countertop sanding with a little piece of paper sander all of her frames. I mean, knowing what we do now, and I was sweating, and it was just this whole like learning process. And I would say this whole experience has been just diving in and saying, "I'm going to figure it out." And that's what I did. I figured out how to paint cabinets. And then I realized, gosh, I really need a helper for this. So I hired somebody to help me. And honestly, we went to 2 jobs. And on the second job, I almost quit and walked away from all of this because we had just a really challenging client. And he was pretty awful to us. And I just didn't, I hated how that made me feel. That was 9.5 years ago. And I think I had a pivotal moment there saying, am I really going to let this stop something that is moving forward because of this one man and what, how he treated me? And I decided, no, I'm not. And I think it was making that decision in that moment that I was going to figure this out and learn from things that, I needed to learn and be brave and walk into the space. So I ended up moving forward, fast forward, I hired a whole team of women. And that was not, again, intentionally because I was out to start a female company. It was literally out of necessity that I was like, I just need some help. And so I put out again in our neighborhood email that I was looking for some part-time workers to come help me during the day paint cabinets, and they could have flexible hours and flexible schedule. And I had, I think, like 15 women respond in like 2 hours. I mean, it was like, whoa, this is really hitting a chord.
And do you think that's still, I've got so many follow-up questions to this, but you can keep going. So but with that point there are so many people that are listening that could benefit from a part-time role from a woman. But I mean, are you finding that these people typically were working in professional careers and like you became stay-at-home moms, and now kids are older, they have more time and flexibility, but they can't be full-time and they can't be in a rigid situation. They need the flexibility. Is that what you're finding the case to be?
You nailed it. That was exactly the demographic. And these women came and we all just started working together, and I trained them on what I knew so far. And then we actually learned together. And there's so many more stories I could share, but I think over the next few years, I was really determined I was going to be really good at this. Like, we weren't just going to be we weren't going to do this in a way that that wasn't the best. And I lost a couple jobs because at the beginning we were rolling everything. We weren't spraying. And I was like, we have to learn how to spray. And actually the rolling was good. Like, it was actually pretty good, but it's never as good as spraying. And I just didn't know what I didn't know at that point. And so after losing a couple jobs, I'm a little bit of a fighter, you might tell. Like, I'm not gonna, if something like doesn't work for me, I'm gonna fix it, and I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna figure out how to do it. And so I didn't want to ever have a client call me back and say, you need to come redo my kitchen. That's the fear, I needed to learn how to do it well and correctly so that these paint finishes lasted forever. And so early on, I would be at Sherwin like every morning in line with, all the guys, and we're all in our paint clothes and we're picking up the paint, and I would be at Home Depot, and I hired some women that were really great at organizing and really great at getting materials and getting our supplies organized and the finances so that I could continue to build. They ran that part of the company. And I'll pause there if you have questions.
No, that's good. So
okay.
So the one that comes to mind is the pricing issue. So you learned early on, you're probably winning some jobs sheerly based on like, oh wow, you're a fourth of the cost of this guy or whatever. When did you really turn that around? How low were you priced relatively to what you should have priced? Like, was it, a fourth of what you should have been charging? Like, maybe give us some clarity there and when that shifted for you.
Yeah, that's a really great question. This was actually, we can look back in our businesses and see when there were some key turning point moments. And this was one for me. We were, I think, 3 years in, and honestly, not making a lot of money. I was paying almost everything out in labor. I was struggling. I had really been considering, like, can I make this? Can I do this? Is it going to go anywhere? And I'm sure a lot of us have been in that place. And we had gotten a job to paint. We were at that point doing interior walls and cabinet painting, and we had bid and won a job at a really nice house, upscale house in our area. And there's a whole team of us working there. And we paint. We've been doing a lot of it. We paint all the time. So like we know what we're doing. But we got done with the day and looked, and these tall walls had stripes up and down. Like it was like roll up and down in different sheens. And we were like, what is going on? And so I reached out to our rep at Sherwin, who I had never contacted. And they were amazing. They came over. They said, hey, can we come over and look at the site? And we said, sure. And two of them came over and said, you know what? These walls are plaster. Have you ever painted on plaster walls? And we were like, nope. And he's like, even though this paint has primer in it, I'm getting to the pricing thing. Even though this paint has primer in it, you need to prime it first. And he said, but he looked at our operation and what we were doing, and he said, you know what? You guys are doing a great job. We want to support you. We're going to provide all the paint for you. You just have to pay for your own labor to redo it. And so we did. And it was a great learning opportunity just for that one technique. But he pulled me aside that day and said, hey, did you paint these cabinets in here? And I said, no, we bid it, but we lost it because we only are rolling right now. And he's like, how much are you charging? And I told him for the cabinet painting. He's like, well, what you're charging is actually less than you should be even for rolling. And he said, what are you charging for interior painting? And I told him, he's like, you're half the price of what the going rate is. And I think at that moment, it was so great because I had never reached out to anyone before then to ask any of those questions. I just felt like I didn't know even who to ask.
Okay.
You know,
you didn't feel fearful of asking? Like, I'm curious as a woman if that's a thing. Like, do I gotta trust these men, or I don't know? But okay.
Well, not for me. And just a little backstory on me. I think this is one reason the space working with men has felt really comfortable. Is I got my pilot's license when I was 17.
Wow.
Very male industry at that point. You know, I'm the only female out there tooling around in an airplane. I ended up being a backpacking guide in college with a bunch of guys. Like I just am in that space. I was very comfortable in that space. And so I didn't ever feel that like fear or competitive nature. I really just kept my head down and just wanted to do a good job, really. I think the fault more with me is I didn't know who to ask, and I wasn't even sure what my resources were. I didn't know what my support system was at that time because I wasn't in the I was very new into the construction industry. And so having someone from Sherwin say, hey, we are here to support you. You guys give us a lot of business. Here's all the resources I can give you. Like, here's my number. That's
really the
huge.
mark of a good supplier as well. They don't just think about your orders; they think about your business.
That's right.
And are you still with them today?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
We left them for a while because they didn't have a paint that, competitive paint that we needed, but they figured it out. A good water-based, really high-quality cabinet paint, which they came out with about 2 years ago called Gallery. So we went back to them. But really, it was that one day of somebody empowering me to say, here, A, I'm your resource, and B, you can be charging more. Gave me the confidence. I think I didn't have the confidence to know what was okay to charge. So that was
That's
it.
great. So we talk about pricing all the time. And in fact, we talk about there's 5 things you have to do as a contractor. Like, you have to do them. And it's close deals, which you were doing, albeit at the wrong price. But then after you're closing deals, once you have proof of concept and you know you can do it, all this kind of stuff, you have to hit your numbers. And that's where the pricing is, right?
Yep.
After that, you have to execute your jobs, which is how you got into the spray paint the paint spraying.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to execute the jobs properly and efficiently and all that kind of stuff. And so interesting that you go through that. Okay. So pricing, you figured it out. Where are you at today with pricing? Would you say you're the most expensive in the market? What's your direction with pricing?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say that we're in the middle. I don't think we're the highest. I know we're not the lowest because we don't get all of our jobs.
That's another good point. You shouldn't be getting, if you're winning every single job, something's wrong. You should be getting no's.
That's right. And that was actually when I was getting a lot of jobs early on. A friend of mine in business said to me, you're priced too low. You should not be getting all of those jobs. So that was a little cue to me back then. And also, I think encouraging for people who are frustrated that they're not getting jobs, like
Yeah.
you shouldn't be. If you're priced right, you know, I don't know what I heard recently industry standard for construction is a design build or just a construction company would be like 30%, 30 to 40% of the jobs that you bid, you get. Maybe you would know better than I do with that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we kind of waffle back and forth in that middle area, middle percentage.
Okay. Good deal. Well, you're growing your cabinet painting. Another thing is that you specialize, it sounds like, into just the cabinets. Is that
Yep.
right?
We ended
Okay.
up stopping with the wall painting. Yep.
And why did you switch to that? And what did you notice once you switched?
We switched because, truthfully, my team didn't want to get up on really high ladders anymore.
Okay.
It was just hard. I mean, these were moms, and you know, we have houses that are 2 stories high that were way up high, you know, painting, and
Yeah.
it just was hauling huge ladders around, all of that. And I think it was just kind of honoring my team and sensing the frustration and saying, let's just really niche here. We know what we're doing with cabinet painting. Let's niche and dive into that. So, and we thrived in that space.
So good. I'm going to go back to it, but we say 5 things. I didn't give all 5. I gave 3: close deals, hit numbers, execute jobs. The next one's lead your team. And after that, serve clients. So we'll talk about that more probably throughout this, but you were leading your team by saying, hey, this isn't a good fit for our team. But also by niching down, you're able to specialize. You're able to do, you know, better work on just the cabinets than anybody else does because you're only doing cabinets. You're able to communicate that effectively to customers. You're able to know the details, right? All that kind of stuff. So very, very cool. Okay. So let's fast forward. You are doing the cabinets. At what point do you say we're going to start doing remodel projects?
Yeah, well, similar to back when I was doing painting with my daughter and people were asking me to do things on the side, this started happening. So we'd be in homes and painting cabinets, and the homeowner would say, hey, you know, can you help me with cabinet or with countertops or backsplash? And probably similar to what I did before, I would just help them for free. I would give them some advice. You know, they have a couple samples there, and we'd have some conversations. And at the time, part of our cabinet painting was also one of the services we provided and actually really tried to sell through was custom end panels, we called them. You know, just what you'd put on the sides of cabinet banks where there's laminate normally. Because our paint didn't adhere long-term to that. It would initially, but I noticed in my own home and some others that it would, if it was getting scraped, that would come off. And so really I wanted to solve that problem with getting a wood surface on there. So that meant a carpenter involved. And I had a friend who was a carpenter, kind of more of a handyman, but he was good with wood. And so we started working together, and he and I would, you know, put end panels on many kitchens, crown molding, really just probably those 2 areas. But in that process, he and I started talking about like, well, what if we did some other things? Could we put a cabinet in, you know, if somebody wants to pull out a cabinet, put something else in there. Sure, we can do that. If the countertops are coming off, could we rearrange this? I mean, it started very small, and we just learned the business together. And pretty soon people were asking us to do big things in their kitchen. And it was this contractor, myself, and then I ended up having one of my employees, my cabinet painting employees, help me with some project management. And it was the 3 of us. And I was also trying to run the cabinet painting company, which was really going strong and very busy. And what I realized over time after we had done several of these is they weren't feeling good. They were feeling like they were taking way too long. It was a lot of just trial and error and learning, which is part of it. But the finances weren't, you know, systemized. Nothing was systemized. I was kind of winging it off to the side. And in many ways, that is a good thing in that it allows. I'm a high risk taker, and I'm always like, we can figure it out. And we had clients that were amazing and let us do that, you know, with their spaces. But one of our core values is excellence. We have 3, and that's one of them. And I really didn't like the fact that we weren't showing up with excellence in these homes. And they're, you know, it just wasn't, you can tell when a project's going well and when the client's happy and when they're not. And we were having more than one at a time that were feeling like they were dragging out. There were mistakes being made, and a lot of it was because I couldn't put my attention there as fully. And we just didn't have the team to do it. And in that period of time, I really had another one of those pivotal moments. I remember very clearly being really frustrated and just saying, I'm gonna quit this part of the business. I'm just gonna stay with cabinet painting. And I just felt a really strong voice say, like, and I'm a person of faith, so that to me is probably God, but it was really a clarity that I needed to continue. But if I was going to continue with the remodeling and learning this, I was learning as I went. I needed to do it with excellence. And that meant like putting resources, putting a team around it, and just diving in. And at that point, I did have the cabinet painting company. I was not needing to be in it day in and day out. I had a general manager who was doing really, really well. And we had also just moved into where we are now, our current offices, that really we bought this space for Bloom Painting Company. And then I was like, well, there is enough space here to kind of dabble in this. What if we have a showroom? What if we have a team meeting space? What if we have And so I just put money into it. That was right around the time of COVID. It was right after COVID hit. And there were great SBA loans. And I had been advised, like, take as much as you can get. These interest rates are amazing. And I had never taken a loan for our business before. That felt a little bit scary. But you have to invest in your business in order to grow it. And it was just a really good time for us. So to do that. And so we jumped in and we said, here's our new team. I actually pulled some of the ladies over from the cabinet painting team who did have professional experience, who had these amazing careers before they were stay-at-home moms, and said, I need you to help with operations. I need you to help with finances. And in my mind, I was like, give us a few months and we'll have it going. And I laugh right now because that was not the case. Truly, it took us like 3 years. And for 3 years, I would say I worked and still work way too much, but it's not exaggerating to say I worked about 70 hours a week. And because our business took off. And
yeah, COVID was a huge shift for everyone in the industry.
Huge. It was huge. And we already had a reputation. So we had people that knew us as Bloom in the community. They didn't know us necessarily as a design build, but there was some reliability there and credibility. And so, we just dove into that. And a phrase that we used a lot, we're not using it anymore, thankfully, but we would say we were building the plane as we're flying it, because that's what it felt
absolutely.
like. Mm-hmm.
And it's always going to be that way. And you're a pilot, so that is even more fitting. But yeah, you're always, if you think that you're not building the plane as you're flying it, you're not an owner.
Right.
You are working for someone else. But if you're a small business, that's what it's like. And the sooner you come to that realization, the more you're able to focus on, well, what's going to keep us flying?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then how can we, get higher altitude? How can we, smooth out some of the turbulence, right?
Yeah.
How can we make it a more comfortable ride? All the different analogies that
I
you can
love
come
that
with
you're
it,
using
right?
those analogies. We use them all. I use them all the time here. We have aviation analogies for a lot of the things we do. My poor team.
Yeah.
But it just works.
That's great.
It works. Mm-hmm.
So where is it today? Today you've obviously got into the remodel. You've scaled that, it sounds like, or grown it. I don't want to say scale, but you've grown it. Which of the, and then you have the venue, which is a part of your office space, it sounds like. And that's kind of its own thing. Where do you spend majority of your time today? How would you divide up, like, which one's the biggest in terms of revenue and all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
Well, Bloom Kitchens quickly surpassed Bloom Painting Company with revenue. Bloom Painting Company is one of our vendors now, but I would never have imagined that before. Bloom Painting Company, was about a $500K revenue. It has been pretty consistently a company. And we aren't scaling that a lot more than what it is. And Bloom Kitchens will be about 3.5 at the end of this year.
Okay.
Is
Wonderful.
And that has it kind of went that direction pretty quickly, not to where we are today, but it was a really steep growth. And I would say we were just trying to catch up with it all the time.
Yeah.
And still do a good job and still have, building our systems. But yeah, that is our driving company. And I do have a revenue goal of, I want to be at 5 million hopefully in 2 years or sooner.
Okay.
And who knows after that, but that's where I'm shooting for. And gallery, I don't know, that it's taking off, which is great. And that's because of the hard work of somebody that I have on my team.
Can you share the concept of gallery? What is the concept as a venue compared to maybe what's in the area?
Yeah, gallery is interesting. So just a little backstory. I wouldn't have started something like that, except we had to pivot with our cabinet painting company about 2 years ago. It wasn't doing as well. It's interesting, you see these trends. The trend had gone from people investing in the small renovation, like painting their cabinets. All of a sudden, they want to spend $100,000 because they've got tons of equity they've been sitting on. And so instead of just getting these small painting jobs, people wanted everything done. And so we really, that's part of the business, strategy is seeing trends and pivoting. And not instantly, but when you're seeing your revenue and what's happening in consistent trends, you have to make some decisions. So we also at the time had a lot of space that Bloom Painting Company was using. And we were like, we need to get some of that rent off of the books. And how can we bring in some other revenue? So I like to call that one, there's like opportunity in both ways that I've grown the businesses. The Bloom Painting Company and Bloom Kitchens has been just opportunity because it was there. Business was coming to us and we were responding to that. Gallery was more like, we have a good amount of space here, shop space. We need to bring in revenue. What are we going to create? And so that's how it started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one was more organic growth. The other's more strategic, right?
Yep.
Of like, okay, here's our assets. How do we make money out of this? What's great about building the plane while you're flying it, and at least having that approach and that mindset, is that that change is certain. Oh, well, people are looking for bigger jobs now and we aren't getting as much opportunity inside the painting company. Well, let's build the plane a little bit differently, right?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
We need a new source of revenue for our business. Let's add a new cabin, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So, no, that's great. So, how big is it? What does it look? Well, here's my big question actually for you. Is the venue a lead generator for Bloom?
Potentially. I don't know that we know that yet, but I do. We double use the space. So sorry, I never answered your question, but it's about 1,000 square feet. It is a really cool vibe. It's like got black walls and it's great lighting and some soft seating, couches and tables. So people use it for celebration of life. They use it for baby showers, wedding showers, parties, birthday parties, graduation parties. Like we see all sorts of different ways people use it. And in it though, we have built out a cabinet display from one of our main cabinet suppliers. And so that was another thing is we needed space to show our product. And so we have that as a double use. It's this beautiful cabinet display that has, it's a working kitchen that both gallery people can use. There's a sink and a fridge and things like that. Mm-hmm. But we use it we take our Bloom Kitchens clients in there all the time to show them the material and the cabinet quality. So it's both ways. Like to answer your question, I think that like we take people into gallery and they're like, oh, look at this cool space you have. And then people in gallery are seeing, oh, what is this place? Because they have to walk through our showroom to get to gallery. So I do think we don't know exactly yet, but we're tracking that information.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, really cool. I think there's probably a lot of people that have showrooms that could get more use out of it. Mm-hmm. And maybe a trend that comes up with some of these design build places that have a showroom where they use it as a venue as well. So, okay, interesting. So I want to pivot the conversation just a little bit. And obviously you're building the plane while you're flying it. While you're building it, things pop up. And you then turn your attention to it, try to fix it, try to resolve it, find out how you can improve it. One of those things that we've talked about in the past is the proposal problem that I know everybody has. I literally have this question or this conversation at least once a month, but
that
probably more
better.
often than that. Yeah, you can feel better about this.
Yeah.
So I don't expect you to have all the answers, but I do want to frame the conversation, right? Where especially in design build where the scope can really continue to just even grow over the life of the project, right?
Yeah.
How do you solve that problem with scope creep, with change orders? Why don't we define what the proposal problem is for all of our audience? I'll let you do that from your perspective.
Yeah. Well, the proposal problem for us in particular is,
Sure.
and across the board, like you say, but I think the construction industry is really challenging because people, see it as, well, how can that cost that much? That person was just here doing an hour of labor. And they don't see, for whatever reason, people don't question, even myself, we don't question this. Like when we go to the grocery store and we buy an apple and it's $2.50. Well, the grocery store bought that apple for 25 cents from the supplier and they marked it up, right? They marked it up a lot because they have to pay for all their employees and their space and all the things, right?
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, we don't question that with the things that we buy. When we go buy a TV or whatever, that price is okay. But for some reason in construction, people already have put a value on what they think it should cost. And you have that tension right there of proving and explaining, to the degree that you want to, why what we're offering is worth the value that we're saying that it is. And so I just think that's part of the initial problem, is getting over that barrier that's just there in construction and design. So the biggest pain point for us and for me is that we've tried to, we're niched as a kitchen company, kitchen design build. So there's our niche, but we service all levels of kitchens. So all the way from cabinet painting to 4 different package levels that we show clients of what they would, potentially want to do or what they are saying they want to do. We try to fit that into packages because there's so many options, right, that you can do. And so having so many options or you can walk in and there's just so many different things you can do in a kitchen. To try to put that in a way that makes sense to clients, I think that's the second challenge. And then where it feels hard is when we say, here's your package, and they're like, okay, well, I like that, but what about that? And I want to do that. And how much? And we want to do it. We really try to give them high-level pricing because we do not know. As a design build, we do know one thing. It's always going to change, right?
When you say high-level pricing, do you mean that you price it high or that you're just giving a rough estimate?
Rough estimate.
Okay,
Thanks
good.
for clarifying. Yes, just giving a rough estimate and, putting a range around it and explaining, what that involves and what services you're getting generally with all of that. And so we try to keep it at a higher level. And and we have like I said, we have a package that we present to them. But it's really challenging when they start to piece the different packages together. And I think for me personally, then I go back to my safety zone is to go back and price everything out line by line. That's because I'm like, I want to get it right. And now they've moved outside of like what we would say is our package here, that I feel comfortable with that pricing, but I don't feel comfortable just throwing out other numbers. Because even though we say all of our proposals, this is a ballpark. This is not we have a fixed bid model. So we are going to figure out your fixed bid during the design process, which is a pretty complex process that we take them through. But here's a target area that you're kind of, if you're comfortable with this range, we're probably good to go. Even when we say all of that, they always want to go back to what we said at the proposal. So it's just this constant tension of saying this is not your number, and them saying, but this is what you said, because you have to give them something to choose.
And so the problem is not for you, seems less like knowing the numbers and more like communicating the numbers to the client.
Yep,
Okay.
It's communicating it. And then it's,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I will say that's the better half of the problem. When you don't actually can't get the numbers right, that's whenever you really run into the issues. Because then you don't even know what to communicate.
Right.
And I've seen it time and time again where the punch list just grows and grows and has iteration and after iteration, and the change orders are there, but you're charging just the same, base rate that you would charge rather than marking up the change order rate.
That's right. That's right.
So many different things pop up there that if you're not getting that right, it doesn't matter what you're communicating to the customer, you're still losing money, right?
Yep. Well,
But yeah, go ahead. Yeah, what do you want to say? Jump in.
well, I was just gonna say we did that poorly initially. Like for the first year,
You're not alone.
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, we bled money because we didn't put a buffer in. We didn't mark up enough. We didn't charge the markup on the change orders. We weren't holding everything into a system that required these checks and balances to make sure that money did not fall through the cracks. And, that was just a part of the growth process. I mean, I'd never owned a design build before, and our team hadn't. So we had a lot to learn. And so I'm speaking now from a place, we're almost 5 years in to our design build now. And we've learned where all those things happen, where money can fall through the cracks and where we lose money. And not to say that we still don't. Clearly, there's things that happen. But we have built in margins and buffer to accommodate most of that. And we have a team that holds our designers and our project managers really accountable for all of that. So, yeah.
That's good. Yeah. And again, like you said, those mistakes that you made early on were really just lessons. And they were opportunities that allowed you to get the plane off the ground.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right.
So it's I know there's people listening that are in that phase. They're like, that's where I am.
Yeah.
I'm doing things for free and I know it.
Totally.
And I don't even know what it costs. I don't know how much I'm losing. That's part of the journey of getting the plane off the ground. And it's just allowing you the opportunity. It's why I always say, like, you need to close deals first.
That's right.
And then learn the numbers, because if you are trying to hit the numbers, but you actually haven't closed deals, there's no learning. You're not actually growing, right?
Well,
So,
and I would just add to that, Khalil, that it is, I would say, those people who are back in that initial space of like, gosh, I'm doing this work for free, or I'm losing this here and there. As long as you are delivering a good product and you are building a good relationship with those clients, you'll get paid back down the line, because you will get that word of mouth, and you will get the next job and the next job and the next job. So it matters, but that doesn't matter as much, just to what you're saying.
No, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're on the back half of that problem of communicating. So let's actually walk through how have you tried to address this? How have you tried communicating this? You've already put it into packages, which I love. Do you have add-ons to these packages that are pretty crystal clear? I'm sure you have something along those lines, right?
We have add-ons, and I would say they're not crystal clear, and that's part of the problem. So one of the things that we've been working on this last year is we were having a disconnect we'd sell it through at a standard price. And for a long time, we were not asking budget. We always ask budget now. We do not shy away from that. In fact, when we vet a lead, we have somebody who vets the leads before, our lead coordinator, before they ever get to the sales team. If she doesn't have a good read on their budget, we are picking up the phone and calling them to make sure this is even worth us going out there, because that is key. And I used to be afraid to ask people that, and now I just tell them, look, I know you're thinking I'm asking that because I want to charge you to the max of what the budget you're telling me. And I'm like, and actually it's not. I'm telling you, I'm asking you because if you tell me you have a $20,000 budget and want all new cabinetry, I'm going to say this isn't a fit, that we can't do it for that. So it's really like vetting them more in that way. And so we've gotten better at that. We've really trained our designers to sit down at that first meeting with them and say, all right, this is what you said your budget was, and this is what the proposal says. What is your budget, and what do you really want to do? And by the way, that kitchen that you saw on Pinterest is 3 times as much as what was in the proposal. If they all of a sudden show an inspo, because that's a luxe high end, but people don't know what that is. So it's the designer educating them of what is a priority for you, and what do you want, and are you willing to go over the budget range that's in this package? Or do you need to stick to it? We're getting better. We're getting better at that. So,
yeah, I always think about, whenever I think about this problem, I think about it in this isn't perfect, but I think about it in 4 steps. I think about it. Okay, do you have qualification problem where you're just qualifying the wrong people, and that's what's causing this whole drama? which, by the way, something that I've found fairly recently, I think like a couple months ago, we were looking into the qualification problem, and it wasn't actually that we weren't asking for the budget, but they didn't we needed to understand how they were funding it, because that plays a big role.
Sure.
Like if they're getting the money from a loan, it's a pretty hard number,
Right.
but they're not treating it like that maybe. And so
Right.
it changes
That's
how
right.
you perceive it.
That's right.
Then the next thing can be a discovery, which is basically your discovery process of, okay, they're qualified. We go through the process of coming up with the budget, all that kind of stuff. It's a discovery problem. Then it can be a scope problem, which would basically be your design, where we haven't actually gotten the scope to align with the discovery, or we haven't gotten the scope to be clear. There's a variety of things that can happen there.
Yeah.
And then it's an execution problem where we aren't executing within the parameters of our scope. We thought that we could execute at this amount, but we're not doing it. So that's the four that I think about it in.
Great.
And so you would say currently out of those four, more recently and currently, you're working on the scope problem because your sale and the sales, maybe the discovery.
Yeah. I mean, I think we are really getting more clear and better at the scope. I think the pain point still remains at the proposal, throwing us off when people are resistant to the generality of a package and they really want it dialed in. And we have this tension of, if we don't give them more specific numbers right now, we might lose this deal. And then deciding, is this an ideal client? We really don't want to lose them. Or is this just not our ideal client because they want specific numbers, right?
It's almost like you have to revisit the sales conversation, and it's almost like you're dealing with two different people that have different objectives.
Yeah.
One's like they're trying to determine who are we going to use. And then once they've actually said their budget and all that kind of stuff, then they're actually talking about, okay, what do we actually want to do?
That's right. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how I would approach this for you. What something that, and you've probably tried these things, so I'm just
necessarily
kind of thinking about here.
I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. So as I get to that second step, so we've gone through our sales process. There's probably things that I would address there, but let's assume that we're doing an amazing job on the sales process. We're getting the most at that time that we can. We get to that next step. It sounds like you're already reviewing what the proposal was. I would even go back through not just what the proposal was, but what our packages were, which you may be doing. And I would even say, are they coming in with their inspiration pictures and stuff at that point, their mood board and all that?
Yes. Yeah. We do a sales handoff first that's
Okay.
handing off everything that happened in the sale to the designer and the team.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the client's coming in with their inspiration later. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a handoff process already. I would think that you would want to go through scenarios of like, typically when we're talking to people in this budget, this is what we see. They really actually want this budget. And maybe you're doing that, but I would actually
it makes sense.
Yeah, I'd guide them through that all over again. Hey, this is what's most common. And this is what people love to see. Like even before they share their inspiration, like set the stage of like, this is what we're like, you think we're meeting to talk about design. We're actually meeting to talk about budget.
Right.
Because this is what people want whenever they come in with a price range of $80,000. They actually want something that's around 125.
Yeah.
And this is why. This gets you this, but they like these little upgrades here. They want to do this with the countertops. They want to do this with the island, whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think? And then, go from there.
No,
So-
it's so interesting you say that because we literally we do a design team meeting every other week where we get all the designers in and go over just different things that we all need to get on the same page about. And this last week was showing different kitchens that I just pulled off of Pinterest that I would say these, and ask the team to define, would you say this would be what we would call our Bloom standard, which is still a nice kitchen? Let's talk about what elements are in those versus look at these 5 luxe Pinterest pictures. And had the team like identify, well, they've got wood beams, they've got this, miter countertop, all the things. And so we decided, and it was great to get in alignment with that, with our team. And then we decided, that needs to be shown to clients, just like you're saying. We need to have like a lookbook or a Pinterest board that we are saying, even at the sale, like to say, look, here is a Bloom's kitchen that is standard within this package. But
Yeah.
if you want this, now you're outside of the package and there it's going to be more. Just
Yeah.
more visualization, more clarity for the client.
I think also even just going through and going down the list of the projects you've done in the last year and saying, hey, proposal for this project was this. After we finished our design process, this is where it ended. And
Great.
here's why. And then here's the next one. Here's the next one. For the people that decided to stay as under their proposal number or within the range or whatever it was, this is what allowed that to happen. For those that ended up going above, this is why they chose to do that.
That's great.
And that it really sets the what you're dealing with for anybody listening, what you're dealing with in both the sales process and in the design process, the scope process is what I typically call it, but this, whatever it is, you're dealing with expectations. That's all you're dealing with. So the more that you can set the expectations and say, hey, this is the goalpost that we're within.
Yeah.
And you cover all the use cases and all the different scenarios, the more you're going to cover yourself.
Yep.
So
That's so good, Khalil. I totally agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a problem, but really it's another lesson. It's no different than you learning about the pricing with your paint jobs. It's no different than you learning about, oh, well, we got to pivot to go remodeling because there's bigger opportunities here and less opportunities here. It's just a lesson. And I think you're going to be better for it. And if you've approached this problem like you have any of the others, you're going to figure it out. So
yeah. Someday. This one's been hard. Yeah. And we'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been so fun, Amy. Thank you for joining, for telling a little bit about your story. It's so unique, but also so relatable to people. Everyone thinks that they're, on their own. Nobody understands. Nobody's been through this, but you're a clear example that like you're not alone and you can get through it. And I really appreciate all the wisdom that you shared from the past, but also even the present of how you're currently solving a real problem that a lot of people have. What's one thing that you would leave to the contractor out there that is you 3 years ago? I'm getting into this, I'm starting this new service line, we're building our company this way, and it feels daunting. What would your advice be?
Yeah. Well, it's a great question. I think I would say, be prepared to work hard for a while. As a startup, new business owner, you're just going to have to invest, right? And it maybe won't be so frustrating if you know that from the beginning and you're willing to commit to that. But I'd also say, part of the story I shared, find your resources, find your support. You mentioned Alex early on. I mean, I connected with you because of Alex. Alex connected with me because of another trade that we were using in our company who said, hey, Alex, you got to go meet Amy. And then Alex invited me to a group called the Trade Table, which is a bunch of guys and me that, are great contractors. And we all sit around and literally just share the problems and support each other and help each other with ideas. It is amazing. It's such a unique experience to be with other people who you are competing against in the market who are like, hey, let's all support each other. Abundance mentality. There's more work out here than any of us can do on our own. So I think find your people. Don't be afraid to ask for help is what I would say. And then I would say, so bring people to work alongside of you, even if it's one person initially that has a different skill set than you do, that can help you in the areas of your business that maybe you're not good at. There are a lot of things that I am not good at. And I had to humble myself to that early on and realize I can pursue the things that I am good at, my strategic, my vision, my relationship building, all the things that an owner has, and bring in people to do the details, the supplying the bins, the things that, whatever it is that aren't great, I don't have time for that. Or I'm not really wired for that. And that is what will help you scale. And it's hard to do it alone. So finding good people to surround yourself with and to work for you, I would say.
That's great. No, love it. It's great advice. Amy, thanks. We'll put a link to your website for Bloom.
Great. Thanks.
And in the show notes. And appreciate you joining us. And we maybe hope to see you back sometime.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. You made it to the end of the episode, but before you go, if you found yourself thinking about growing your construction business while listening today, I want to share something with you. It's called our 24 Things to Hiring and Training the Perfect Executive Assistant for Your Construction Business. And it's a free guide that we've created. It's not
theory. It's what we actually use to help contractors hire the perfect executive assistant. And really, we help you find ways to delegate over 50% of your current workload and get back 20 hours of your time every single week. You didn't start your construction business to just be doing admin work, to be buried in paperwork and endless admin tasks. This is the guide that shows you exactly how to find and train someone who can actually take all that weight off of your shoulders. So this is a real actionable, great PDF that has templates and processes. It's really, really great. And I want you to check it out, even just to get your feedback and how we can make it even more valuable. But I know that you're gonna love it. The link is in the show notes. Please download it. We'd love to see how much of an impact it makes on you and your business. Thanks for listening to the full episode. Check out the guide. It's free. No reason to hesitate. No reason to wait. Download it now. And before you go, I just want to ask for your gracious subscription to our podcast. So if you have 2 seconds, it means the world to us. Just subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or if you'd like our weekly newsletter delivered to your inbox whenever we release an episode, please subscribe in the show notes. Every week, we're talking about real strategies on how you can grow and build a profitable construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, and more money. Click subscribe wherever you listen to the show, and thank you again for checking out The Cashflow Contractor. See you on the next episode.